One of our viewers has written in asking what to do when other parents are complaining about my child. This gets me a little fired up. I may go on a rant for a moment. Let me give you the context first. This particular viewer wrote in and said, parent friends have made comments that they don't want their children being around kids that have been abused. And my child has been abused. Do I just hope they don't find out? Oh boy. Okay, this is getting me a little fired up, and I'm going to do the rant first, and then let's get practical, and I'll give you some specific steps that you can use. Whether it's about abuse, and first of all, there's no such thing as a bad kid. Let's just get that out of our head for just a minute. There's no such thing. I know that there are kids who misbehave. I get it. Got some tips and strategies that I'll share with you to help them with that. But they're not bad kids. They may be engaged in bad behavior. In this particular example, the parents, probably well-meaning, are saying, well, I don't want my kid to be around an abused kid, not knowing that our viewer friend has a child who's been abused. Now, what does that create inside of her heart and mind? I have a little problem with that. And I understand that abused kids sometimes manifest certain kinds of behavioral problems, or they may put other kids at risk. That is not true of every abused kid. And what kind of kids get abused? The bad ones? No, there's no bad kids. They're kids who are available to an abuser in whatever context that is. So you could get me going on that, but I've got a few other things to rant about first. I think we should all spend less time judging and more time being accepting and tolerant and loving. Everybody has issues, and we tend to pick out the ones that are our favorites, and we like to beat up on those and create barriers and categories for people who are not like us. Well, everybody has issues. There's a bumper sticker that I heard referred to recently in a talk that says, "Don't judge me because I sin differently than you." I love that because we all got stuff. We've all got skeletons in the closet. Let's quit beating up people for the ones that they have. One of my colleagues used to say this, "What other people think about me is none of my business." Can you own that for a minute? People are going to have their opinions. Don't let it get inside of you or tip you over. What other people think about you is none of your business. And while I'm at it, how about we just let go of some of the categories that we used to think about people? It's not that this kid is an abused kid. This is a child who has a name, who has interests, who has a family, and it just so happens that they were abused. Let's quit categorizing people by their race or their gender or their sexual orientation or whatever other categories we think are handy to judge them. Let's let that go, can we? And at the end of the day, what kind of friends do you want to have? This viewer said that these are my parent friends who are saying they don't want their kid to be around someone who's abused. Really? That's the kind of friends you want to keep? Now, have tolerance and compassion for them because they probably don't even know what they're talking about. But really, let's be discerning about who we want to hang out with and associate with too. Okay, I think my rant's over. That just fired me up. And I have very little tolerance for the kind of prejudice and judgment that goes on in these kinds of situations. Now, having said that, what can we do as parents when somebody else is complaining about or concerned about our kid? Let's take a breath. Maybe just Dr. Paul needs a breath. Okay. And let's get into 3 tips that are going to help you with that. I'm inviting you to a higher level of thinking and interacting and just showing up as a human being. Tip number 1 is to create a dilemma. For anyone who might be judging you or your child, you show up in the most genuine, sincere way that you possibly can without retaliating or reacting to their judgments. Create a situation for them. I called it a dilemma, okay? And a dilemma comes from the image of a 2-horned animal and the one horn or the other. You get stuck on one or the other, okay? That's the dilemma. They can't believe this without letting this go, or they can't believe that without letting this go. You're going to create a dilemma by being the most loving, kind, accepting, tolerant person that you can be, and having whatever it is that they're concerned about. Quick example. In my book, I write about a time in my life when I hit a financial low. I went through a bankruptcy at that point. Now, I wasn't proud of it at the time, but I've learned since that it's been a valuable learning opportunity for me to get to where I am today. And so, as I created a dilemma for some people and shared with them what was true, I'm going back to the question too. Do I just keep this a secret? Do I hope they never find out? What if they do find out? And they find out that their preconceived notions are completely misguided. And I did this with my bankruptcies. I shared it with some of my clients and I said, when I went through my bankruptcy, and they're like, wait, what? You? And I'm like, yeah, me. I've been there. I've done that. But you're so successful. And I'm like, I know, right? No, actually, I'm just humbled by the experience. And they had to resolve the dilemma in their own mind. Wait a minute, here's a person that I know and like who has this characteristic that I thought was unacceptable, whatever it is. And I'm just using the bankruptcy as an example. You create a dilemma for them. Show up and live your life fully. Do you want to live in the shame of the shadows? Or can we step forward and have the empowerment of just living in the light? Here's my second tip. Strengthen and fortify your children. This isn't the last time that the world is going to try to beat them up a little bit for circumstances, things outside of their control, maybe even things that they chose to do. They are going to be judged and criticized from time to time. I like the way Bishop Desmond Tutu put this, Archbishop, South Africa, who said, we are all broken, and from that brokenness, we hurt each other. And then he suggests that forgiveness is the healing gift that we can give to ourselves and others. Because we're broken, we're going to hurt each other. People are going to hurt your kids. I am so sorry to tell you that, but you already know it. Let's fortify and strengthen them against the blows that are sure to come in their life. We want them to have the character and integrity to be able to take that in a way that doesn't tip them over, doesn't destroy their life. It actually strengthens them to deal with these kinds of things. So let's provide them with the tools to do that. I think one of the primary ways we do this is by encouraging and teaching empathy and compassion. They'll understand when some of the mean things happen. That has an impact and an effect on them. Use that to help them understand how that impacts other human beings on the planet. As you teach them empathy, which is understanding and caring about how other people feel, and compassion, which is where you have kindness and a willingness to serve and suffer for someone else. Now, my third tip, and a disclaimer, this is going to take some maturity on your part, and that is to choose love. It's the easiest thing when somebody judges us or criticizes us or complains about us or our kids. It's the easiest thing to just let that mama bear come out and just and take them on, right? Take them down if you can. That probably is going to make things worse. Choose love. Even if, and especially when, other people are choosing hate. The most powerful example I can think of this, I got to meet Immaculée Ilibagiza a few years ago. If you can even spell that name, go look her up. She wrote a book called Left to Tell. Immaculée Ilibagiza. And as I met this powerful woman who shares her story of being a young woman in Rwanda during the Holocaust, the genocide that was happening, and she witnessed and experienced the murder of her dear friends and her family. Can you imagine what that would do inside of you? And it churned her up a bit. She realized at some point that she had a choice to make. She could hate the haters, or she could choose love. That's not an easy choice, but it's an important choice, because if she chose to hate and seek retaliation and revenge, then she's likely to do things that would perpetuate centuries of warfare and hatred between these two tribes. She knew, and I think was inspired to know this, that the only legitimate option is to choose love, especially when people are being hateful, especially then, because that's the only way we're going to stop the cycle. Thank you for being the conscious parent that you are, and for tolerating my rant just now. You can tell that I get excited about this kind of stuff. If this resonates with you and you want to be part of our positive parenting community, your next step is to jump on a breakthrough call with one of our coaches. We have groups, we have programs, we have courses available to you as a parent. drpauljenkins.com/breakthrough call.